Hello and welcome to today's Energy Future Exchange web conversation or webinar. My name is Max Grunig with the Ecologic Institute in Washington, D.C. We're one of the project partners in this transatlantic civil society dialogue on the future of energy in the context of climate change. We've done a lot of in-person activities throughout the last year in the United States and also a little bit in Europe. And to bridge the gaps in between, we have these online conversations. We're very happy to have here today with us actually 3 speakers, all from the Green Energy Cooperative, ZEZ, or they will explain more how to pronounce this later, I hope. We have Zoran, Sandra, and Boris who will present their work, their outstanding work. Zoran has been already around in the ecologic universe for quite a while. I have to say, both with our Pasicko project and the Energy Future Exchange, we met first in Europe and during the European Pasicko Post-Carbon Cities of Tomorrow project. And then last year, he visited some places in the US with us, Pittsburgh and Atlanta, and we had an event of the Energy Future Exchange together in Pittsburgh, and which is an interesting place. That's a little side note here, because it has a significant Croatian minority, and so very interesting to go there with Zoran as a Croatian and visiting a little bit of the Croatian footprint in the United States, in Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania. Anyway, that's just as an opener. I will hand over now to Zoran and his colleagues, Sandra and Boris, who will first give a very quick run through of what they're doing, just as a starter. And then, of course, I have a ton of questions, but I also want to make this interactive. So if you as participants, you want to ask questions, we will make sure you can ask them. There's multiple ways how you can do this. You can either use the chat function, there's a questions pane, and you can also click on a button to raise your hand. And yeah, Zoran, if you look now, how does this work? I will monitor this. I will let you know when there are questions. So no worries about that. And I can unmute the participants if you have questions, and then you can ask your questions directly. And if this doesn't work, if your microphone doesn't work or something like that, then I'll be happy to read out the questions. And of course, you can also stay in touch afterwards. So just a little disclaimer here. So we do have an Energy Future Exchange LinkedIn group, and that's a great place to have conversations. And of course, you can also follow us. We're on Instagram. If people are into Instagram, you can be following the Energy Future Exchange on Instagram. And we also have a website, energyfuturex.org. And a big highlight, also maybe interesting for Zoran and the colleagues, we do have a conference next year in September, or this year, sorry. It's already 2019. So September 24th in Brussels, we will have the Energy Future Exchange conference. It's a Tuesday, and we will have also the opportunity for people who come there who want to stay longer to participate in a study tour program in both the Netherlands and in Belgium. So in that area, on energy efficiency, on renewables and sustainable mobility. But if you're tight with your time, you can also just go for the conference, which will be really interesting. It will be very European and very transatlantic. European because it's in Brussels, obviously, and it's just after we have the new European Parliament, so it will be a little bit politics focused in a way. I will have more updates on that later. So, but I seem to talk too much. So Zoran, I'll be quiet now, and you can do the introduction to the Green Energy Cooperative. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. and really happy to cooperate again with you within the Pasicko program and this transatlantic exchange. Yeah, I hope we have diverse audience. We saw that there are students and people from universities, people from cities joining us. So I believe this is going to be interesting for all of them to hear and to find out more about the situation in Croatia, but also in West Balkan region when it comes to community energy and the models that we are trying to introduce here. So just for the introduction, I will go quickly through several slides just to put things in the context so you get a better perspective on what we are working on. So the basic idea of our work and what we are trying to achieve is basically to transform the society from the fossil fuel usage towards the clean energy sources in a way that citizens and local groups are behind this transition. So not only energy transition, but energy democracy. Last year, there was a study published by RESCOP EU, which is European Federation of Energy Cooperatives. And that study, which was produced by Delft University in Netherlands, basically showed the potential for energy citizens. And one of the conclusions was that 1 out of 2 people in the European Union could be producing their own electricity by 2050, which is basically showing the great potential for community energy. And community energy can be reflected in many ways. It can be through energy cooperatives movement and models. It can also be through SMEs, so that SMEs are basically initiating renewable energy projects, or it can be through the households by installing, for example, solar power plants on their roofs, or through the public buildings. In Europe, there are more than 1,050 energy cooperatives now, and they're all part of RESCOP EU, which is the Federation of Energy Cooperatives. And actually, our cooperative ZEZ is also one of the COPs within the network. This slide is to show the potential for the mayors, for the cities to also run the community energy projects. And we are seeing more and more initiatives that are coming from the grassroots level and from the cities level. For example, in US, we have now very passive movement, let's say passive from the top level, but there are like many local movements that I personally saw this fall when I visited the US. So yeah, we are basically trying to promote crowdfunding model, which is the model that engage more people to invest and to engage with the projects. And especially we are trying to promote the model that involves cities also in financing the projects. This model is called civic crowdfunding. So it is matching cities with citizens in investing in renewable energy projects. How it works, there are like a lot of good examples already around Europe. So for example, a Space Hive platform in UK is one of the good example on what can be done with such campaigns and what kind of impact and influence it can create. So, for example, last year there was the campaign Crowdfund London, which was initiated by City of London, and there was the video of the campaign, Mayor of London, who was supporting the project, and he personally actually invested some money into the projects. In Croatia, when it comes to crowdfunding, we have also some good numbers now, and this movement is kind of growing. But when it comes to the status of renewable energy in Croatia, for example, and when we compare it with other EU countries, we see that basically Croatia is at the bottom of the whole European Union in photovoltaic systems capacity. So even though we have great potential in solar, we are at the bottom of all EU countries, and also connected to that, basically all the investments into renewables in Croatia are initiated by big companies rather than citizens and small investors. For example, in comparison to that, in Germany, completely different situation. There are like almost 50% of all installed capacities are basically in the ownership of small investors, farmers, energy cooperatives, and that's basically type of that's what we would like to see also in Croatia, and that's what we are looking for with our projects. So now I come to ZEZ. It is Zelena energetska zadruga on Croatian and Green Energy Cooperative on English. So we are registered as energy cooperatives. We are 20 members and 5 employees. We work here from Zagreb, but we cover the whole Croatia, and also we work in the West Balkan region, covering the also Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, and some other countries. We have some projects there. And we are developing community energy projects. Our mission is to support citizens and to support cities in using renewable energy, either by developing from the technical side the projects, or either by helping them to invest into that project. Some examples of our work. Several years ago, we started our first project, which was called Energy Independent School. That was in a small city in Dalmatia, southern Croatia. That was basically the first time we introduced crowdfunding model for financing solar power energy. Afterwards, we started Crowdfunding Academy. That was the program to support startups and young SMEs in initiating their ideas and to get funded through crowdfunding. And then we started last year community energy projects based on crowd investing. So while the first projects were focused on donations from people who wanted to donate their money for example, independent school. Last year, we first time introduced crowd investing model, which is basically a model where people are enabled to invest into green energy. For that purpose, we also developed a digital platform for projects, so to have this whole process to make it more simple and more digitalized. Yeah, this is the graph showing how did we get here. So now 6 years ago, we started as a spin-off from UNDP office here in Croatia. We looked for Cooperative as a platform which will help us to continue the work that we started through UNDP office. Yeah, then we had this first crowdfunding project. Then we started the academy. In 2016, we became the member of RESCOP, which is European Federation of Energy Cooperatives. And from last year, we are also board member of RESCOP. We are also partner to Energy Cities, which is European Association of Cities, covering more than 1,000 cities in Europe. And we are helping them to promote a Covenant of Mayors initiative. And we are trying to mobilize cities here in Croatia, but also in West Balkan region to join the Covenant of Mayors initiatives. And at the same time, we help them to develop community energy projects. So that's the whole idea. And maybe just to show you the business model behind, so how we work on our projects. So basically, we as an energy cooperative, we are a platform between the citizens and between the users. The users are usually public institutions, either cities or some city organizations. We as a cooperative collect money from the cooperative members and from small investors. Anybody basically from Croatia who wants to invest into the project. After we collect the needed amount of money, then we buy the solar plant. We install it on the roof, public roof. For the some period, it is owned by us, by Cooperative, and after some years, it became the ownership of the city. Also, at the same time, each year we are returning the investments to the citizens. It is usually around 5% interest rate, which makes the whole business model very attractive to citizens, because this rate is much higher than the rate that one can get from the banks, for example. So instead of, our idea is to offer citizens that instead of savings their money on bank accounts, this way they can invest their money into the real projects, which they can see the real impact after they do that. Last year we had a successful campaign in city of Križevciand, that is small city in the northern part of Croatia with not so much sun, but still the model worked fine. The campaign was supported by around 50 small investors, and for the next 10 years, the plant will be in the ownership of ZEZ, and then we will basically transfer the ownership towards the city of Križevciand. That was the small system, the small plant. But what was interesting is that we had interest rate which was doubled than the amount of money that we needed, which showed us the potential and the need from the citizens basically to invest into such projects. And yeah, that's why we basically started to develop our own platform, for like online platform for invest in renewable energy. So now we are building the portfolio of the projects from the projects in Croatia, but also we are now starting some projects in the region, in the West Balkan region too. So the idea is to have all these projects available, and yeah, to have all of them available on this web page so that anybody who want to invest can do that easily. Yeah, that would be in short what we are trying actually to achieve here.
Thank you, Zoran. I think that's a great introduction into what you're doing. My first reaction is, why are you doing it that way? Why are you doing it with a cooperative that's non-profit? You know, there's tons of energy companies that are for-profit, and they can go, for example, they can go to the stock market. Maybe they have better access to credit, and maybe they also get maybe higher investments in. So my question is, what made it that you decided to go that way? Because at some point there must have been a decision about this, and maybe also linked to that the question, what attracted you to doing this now? Because was it more about the cooperative nature or more about the energy nature? What was the decision factor?
Okay, I would say both. Maybe the combination of cooperative model that we wanted to promote, but also this community energy part. So I remember that 6 years ago, that year was basically International Year of Cooperatives and the Year of Sustainable Energy. So we were joking that we basically matched these two moments and started this energy cooperative movement now as at that time as UNDP office, and then we just basically continue to work as energy cooperative. I don't know. I think this model that that have some business spirit in it, but in the heart of the model is something which is community oriented, which is social entrepreneurship in a sense. So I believe the combination of several things pushed us to continue this story.
Okay, great. Maybe also a little bit from your colleagues, Heidi and Boris. Maybe you can say something. What motivated you to work for ZEZ? What you find interesting, and also, of course, like why this makes sense for you in the bigger picture. Yeah, what do you think this will achieve in the end?
You want to go first, Leah?
For me, especially people inside of organization, we are a small organization and we all share the same vision, and we become friends at the end of the day. And I think our projects, for me, they're very innovative and interesting, and it is very, I don't know, still keep me going and moving forward. And for I don't know, for you, Boris.
Well, from my point of view, like energy cooperatives give an opportunity to put energy into the hands of the people, and I think I was really mesmerized by the idea of citizens and just like people being the owners of the energy system, and that's what I liked most, and I think that's very necessary today, especially in Croatia, which is not utilizing its renewable energy sources almost at all, and we have a huge potential. And as you could have seen from the slides, we do have almost 99% of the renewable energy ownership in the hands of big companies. So I kind of felt compelled to join the Green Energy Cooperative and join this movement and try to spread this good vibe that I believe in. So that's it from my side, more or less.
Great. And one question, and you don't have to answer if you think that's too personal, but are you all also partners? I mean, owners in the cooperative, since you work for them? And do you all have shares in the cooperative, or is that something you keep separate so that the staff is not also part of the ownership for the cooperative?
Well, so far, all of the people so all of the members of the cooperative do have an equal share in the cooperative. So all of the employees that came along throughout the time through the period while we are operating actually became the members of the cooperative, and we are all shareholders, let's say, of the company, and we all have equal shares. Regardless of the amount of money that we put in the company, we all have equal shares and equal votes, and we are trying to promote the equality. That's one of the basic principles of cooperatives, so we're trying to stick to that.
Great. And Zoran, you always say you're the boss, but you're not really the boss. You always say that. And
Yeah.
that's, of course,
I can say that to you only, but when I'm with colleagues, then then I'm silent.
Okay. So I shouldn't have said that. Okay. So you said a little bit about how this is a very specific situation in Croatia with a very dominant or very small share of cooperatively owned renewables. Now, what would you think is very Croatian about your cooperative, and what would you think is more something that you can expand beyond Croatia? Because you mentioned you're already going into different Balkan countries, and what do you think makes you very Croatian, and what's basically the global side of your cooperative?
That's the good question. Since we are also part of this RESCOP network, which has more than 1,000 different energy cooperatives, we actually couldn't compare ourselves with any of them. So working in Croatia means that you need to be very innovative, and that's basically the business models that other cooperatives in Europe are doing will not function in Croatia. So the thing is that we managed to create something in between green think tank and energy cooperative, and also we are partners on many European funded projects. So that's the only way that we could survive at the market, because if we would focus only on community energy projects, then we would have very tough times to to basically live from it.
That's another question I had, by the way. So you're saying it is difficult to basically break even just on the energy project, so you need the other part as well to cover your costs. But you do cover your costs by now?
Yes, we cover our costs.
Well, but for now we are covering our costs, but we definitely need some other projects on the side. We are involved in several big EU projects from the Horizon 2020 framework, and that helps us quite a lot, because as Zoran already stated, it's kind of hard to just replicate the models of energy cooperatives from around the world and from other European countries in Croatia, because we keep on running into walls, to be honest. Like the legal framework is not very fond of this kind of things. It's not very friendly, and we have to fight many obstacles and adjust all of the time, and so it's not as easy as we would like it to be, but we're trying to make it better. Yeah.
So one question I had is, I don't know if everybody caught on to this, is that after the credit, after the infrastructure is paid off, you give the asset, the renewable energy asset, to the city or the school or wherever it's installed. Did you consider changing this ever? Or because if you would keep it, you could have more money for the cooperative, sounds to me, and you would maybe have more funds for new projects. But what decided that you said, this is how we're going to do this? I find this very interesting. Don't get me wrong. I really like that. It's just, it's kind of, you're giving something away. And is that just part of the philosophy of your cooperative, or how was that decided?
Yeah, so for us, it was, especially since it was the first time we were doing this type of projects, I mean, this crowd investing thing. So the most important part was to actually develop and have the reference in the project like that. So we didn't look for the huge profit out of it. It is a small project. We wanted to have it as a first step, as a first pilot, and to see all the and to go through all the difficulties we had in the process. So for the next projects, we will definitely look how to achieve maybe more, let's say, to make it more economically viable. But yeah, for the first time, for us, it was just important to make it, and yeah, that's it.
Great. And one question to follow up on this is, you said, Boris, you said you run into walls and there's a lot of resistance, but are the cities, are the public entities interested in getting solar on the roof from you, or is that also difficult to get, or are there other walls you mentioned?
Okay, so well, we are cooperating at the moment with several different cities, and after the first campaign in the city of Križevci, it was much easier for us to approach the cities. I would say that there is enough of cities that are interested, but you know, you need to make deals with utilities companies. You're restricted by some laws, and so on. So it's hard to find a proper business model that pays off fast enough and that citizens would be interested in, and that the cities would get a benefit. You know, it's really hard to find the proper model so that everybody, so it's a win-win-win situation. So but yeah, the cities are interested, but also there are other, like, some legal obstacles and so on to make it more financially viable for us and for everybody involved. So maybe there's something else you would like to add?
Yeah, but basically we are still kind of adjusting the model. So each day we came out with some other solutions, since we are facing, yeah, not only the technical things basically are the easiest one, but when it comes to the public procurement, that needs to be very transparent and very strict, but also time consuming. You know, they're like, it is very complex, and there are many elements that you need to take into account when in developing the whole project. So yeah, I believe we are in a good way. We are all the time still adjusting the model, but I believe we will come to the point where it can be easily replicated, not only in Croatian cities, but also in the region.
Yeah, you mentioned this, the expansion already in other Balkan countries, and also, of course, why not go beyond the Balkans? So my question is, how far is that a focus of you? And if you say replication, are you talking about expanding green energy cooperative, so your cooperative, or just telling other people how to do it and then they can do it on their own? Which way is your model, basically?
Yeah, for that, we already, I would say, changed the philosophy a couple of times, because at first, maybe we had an idea to become the umbrella of many energy cooperatives, and to become the organizations who support the other local citizens to mobilize and to become the part of the movement. But then we kind of realized that it is difficult. It is hard to engage people into some type of action and the movement. So the easiest way so far was to actually develop this online platform and just invite them to become investors into the projects.
Now, Zoran, about you were in the US, you were in Pittsburgh, but also in Atlanta last year. And I wanted to ask you, I know you haven't seen all of the United States, but you've seen it a little bit and maybe you have an idea. Do you feel that the model of green energy cooperative could also be working in the United States? Is that something you think we should try to do, or do you think it would need to be adjusted to work over here?
Okay, so from what I've seen in US, that basically there are a lot of energy cooperatives already there. They're kind of different business models, I would say, than we have here in EU. I personally didn't see the model that we are having here, working with cities and matching energy cooperatives and cities. But I spoke to some organizations that are doing similar jobs, such as Solarized Neighborhood, which also had the office in the Pittsburgh. And talking to them, I saw that basically we're on the same page, the same philosophy. It is just a matter of different business models that we use and that are in use in US. So yeah, definitely there are like huge space, much huger space than than we have in Croatia, I would say, for you to do that.
Great, thank you. Now, since we talk about where this can go, maybe we can get an idea from each of the three of you. Where do you see the cooperative, I mean your cooperative, in 5 and in 10 years? What kind of future do you think is not only realistic, but what's your hopes, your vision for the future? I don't know if Heidi, maybe you want to start first, but whoever feels ready, yeah, give it a try.
First of all, more energy projects in Croatia and more involved people in using those projects or develop those projects or invest in those projects. That's for sure. What else? To have more energy cooperatives also. I think we are the only 2-3, I don't know, energy cooperatives in Croatia. I think there is a potential to have more of them, of course, and I don't know. It is 5-10 years. It's a long period. We will see.
Yeah, I guess it's like similar to that. I'm looking forward to seeing many energy projects supported by the citizens and by the cities themselves, and I'm looking forward to seeing more energy cooperatives that are trying to develop their own models that work in their own neighborhood, in their own city, in their own region, and that we can help kickstart their projects, help to guide them. And I'm hoping to see a proper renewable energy revolution in Croatia within 5 to 10 years from now, honestly. And I hope that we will be one of the sparks that will, that will help to kickstart this movement and make it a way bigger thing than it is at the moment, because I believe it's necessary, and we are putting all of our efforts into doing that. So I think we'll also continue working on international projects and trying to spread our models and ideas into the other countries of the Western Balkans. So let's see how it goes, but that's at least my vision for now. So maybe Zoran, you want to have a take on that as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can just I don't know, agree with colleagues. Also, I think that the challenge for us would be to ensure that that not only community energy projects happen in the long term in a much broader and much bigger scale, but also to ensure that those projects kind of kickstart the whole economy, which is another issue, and which I believe that really, like, good energy models really can kickstart the good economy models. So in a sense, to transform our society and our cities into some very like active players that are kind of front runners in a good economy models. That's what I would like to see in the long run.
So, Zoran, if you say kickstarting change in the whole economy, do you mean that there will be more cooperatives in general, or other ideas?
There are like at the moment there are like different types of cooperatives. So, for example, we have in Croatia Cooperative for Ethical Financing. We have Cooperative for Good Economy. And I believe the future is in matching all these small puzzles, which then can create kind of stable and good system. That's so. The basic idea is to escape that we kind of develop only one segment and only one puzzle, and yeah, to kind of create a bigger impact.
Great. And I think there's definitely, a lot of potential coming from the energy sector. I mean, the energy sector has links to all the other sectors, so it's a very good starting point. And of course, I keep my fingers crossed that you can really start this transition in Croatia. And that it will also be well received beyond the cities. I want to go back to you personally, all three of you, like as individuals. And I want to ask you, in your time working with ZEZ or also being an owner, if you can think of any moment in the time, however long or short that was, where you had a real, like a moment, a surprise moment, and something that where you think, oh, I didn't expect this, and this really changed my view on things.
I can start. I was managing this campaign in small city of Križevciand, and we collected money in only 8 days. And for me, it was wow, we did it. It was very, for me, highlights of my career in ZEZ. So when I saw the newspaper, article in newspaper and TV, no, and they are talking about ZEZ, and that was my yeah special moment. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe the last year when we were organizing international conference on a small island of Vis in Croatia, and we frame it as international conference, but actually we didn't know if anybody would show up because we were kind of having the agenda full of community energy topics, and we invited, cities and some actors who are maybe not so familiar with the model. And at the end, we had the huge conference. We had more than 80 people joining the conference. That was happened on the island, which is 2 hours away from the coast. So it really required a lot of logistics for anybody who wanted to join the conference. And we had kind of 10 or more people from EU, experts from different fields. We had people from cities, people from NGOs, from like very, very diverse sectors. And that was kind of for me the signal that, okay, we are like really doing something big, and people are recognizing that. So yeah, that was for me one of the moments.
Okay, and well, I don't have much to add. Like it's mostly similar moments to that. Like when we started getting recognition from other cities and from relevant players in the energy market, and also from some important international organizations. I was going for some meetings with the mayors of different cities and speaking with people from different organizations, and they were telling me, wow, good job with the campaign in the city of Križevci, we are following your work, good job, we know you, and you were all around the newspapers and the TV, and we really think that you're doing a great thing. And I cannot take out a specific moment. It's just like a collection of these nice moments when I realized, man, something we're doing is really making an impact, and we're making a change, and people are noticing that and they like it. And I think it's very similar for most of us. Yeah.
We share the same. Yeah.
Great. Well, I think it's good to hear that. It's good to see how you're also personally really involved, and part of this is not just a job. You don't just go in for 8 hours and you do overtime right now. I appreciate that because it's already a little bit late. But I do hope that that it was fun for you as well. If you don't mind, we will also share the slideshow with the people, if that's okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say how, again, we will have this conference. It might not be as great as the one on, what was it called? Beach?
Vis, the island of Vis.
Vis,
yeah.
So it might not be as beautiful. I mean, of course, Brussels is beautiful, but it's definitely less nature oriented and more like a big city. But if you have time, it would be great to see you on September 24th in Brussels. All three of you, and of course also people who are following this online. You're also more than welcome to join us there. I think we will have very interesting conversations about different approaches to energy and how we can learn from each other and maybe get inspiration. I think your story is very inspirational, and I wish you all the best for the next projects, and of course also the ones you're still working on. And I hope to hear from you. The next webinar we're hosting will be in 2 weeks, and it will be not on energy, but it will be a Pocasito webinar on mushroom farming, underground mushroom farming in Marseille. So this is less energy oriented and more food and reuse and recycling oriented. It's Maxime Quenin is going to be the speaker, and they're called Champignons de Marseille, and they grow champignons on old coffee grinds. So they collect the coffee from coffee shops, and then they grow mushrooms on that underground. So I think what they need, though, is renewable energy for the light in the mushroom growing. So you need to talk to them as well. So this will be in 2 weeks, because next week, why is there no webinar next week? Well, maybe that's too American, but next week is the February 14th is Valentine's Day. So that's why because that would be rude, right? To have a webinar at 6 p.m. on Valentine's Day, and then nobody in Europe would be able to join. Anyway, so enjoy your Valentine's Day next week, and then we'll be in touch. Thank you again. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Zoran. Thank you, Boris, for doing this today. And have a great evening, and be in touch soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.